The first thing I did was to take this piece of 2x6 right here, and I measured the entry to the camper bathroom, and then I cut this 2x6 and tested the width. And I actually, you can actually even see the holes on the end. I actually mounted the hinge. There's the holes right there. I mounted a hinge on this and actually held it up in place to make sure that this was going to open and close and have all the clearance that I wanted. And I came up with a measurement of 21 and a quarter for this. I then used this to set up my jig to cut the door. This will be the door going right through here, and I just bought a sheet of 1/2 inch maple. I added a 1/16 of an inch over here for the saw blade, so I would get 21 and a quarter. I do think I have a little bit of play, and I think I can adjust one way or the other when I put it in. I'm very meticulous on setting up the jig. I have it on a picnic table clamped here on both ends. I have a guide that I clamped, and I actually added a screw in the middle and tested the width in the middle and on the ends to make sure I was square. Clamped here, so I have it clamped on 4 positions because when I push, I don't want to have the board move at all. I'm pretty good freehand with a skill saw, and really I think I could have drawn a line and cut it fairly square, but I'm go ahead and use the jig this time and see what I get. So getting ready to do my first cut, which will be cutting the width of the door at 21 and a quarter. I do want to add before I cut this that, of course, there are 2 alternatives here. One, of course, is if you have a table saw, and then you just set it up and cut it at 21 and a quarter. The other is I'm just not interested in hanging out at Lowe's in this environment. And when I go to Lowe's, I put on my mask, go in, get what I want, and get right out. I don't really do any shopping or looking around. Try to limit my time in the store and just get in and get out. But if it doesn't bother you, you could actually have Lowe's cut this to 21 and a quarter, and you would get the most perfect cut of all. Okay, I had to reset because disaster almost struck. I almost pulled off the all-time amateur mistake in all of cutting with a skill saw, in that I did not give myself 1.5 inches for the blade from the end of the fence right here. So I had to go back and add 1.5 inches. Now, luckily, where I cut that little mistake there, I know that my door is not going to be 8 feet, so I'll actually end up cutting that off. And I think I'm set up and ready to go here. I extended the cut size out to accommodate the 1.5 inches on the skill saw, and my final product will be 21 and a quarter. I am, however, going to cut 1 inch and remeasure before I make the final cut. So I actually traded Makita saws here. Didn't like the sound my little one was making. I was really struggling. I think the blade is dull. And also, you'll notice that the fence on this sits up about 1/2 inch, whereas it was barely a 1/16 on my little one. And that fence edge, I think, will ride down the wood track a lot better. So we're going to try it again. Woohoo! Wish I could have filmed it for you, but I can't be cameraman and run the Makita saw. And wow, it just went through it like butter, gave me a nice straight edge. And I'm going to go sand that down now, and then I'm going to go get the height and make the door cut to the proper height. So I've made my cut and measurement. So the floor to ceiling height right there at the bathroom door was 77 inches, almost exactly. I subtracted 1/4 inch. This will give me 1/8 of an inch clearance at the top, and it will give me 1/8 of an inch clearance at the bottom, which is a pretty tight seal for what I'm trying to accomplish, and I think will meet my needs. For this cut, I'm going to freehand this cut. I'm confident that I can stay on the chalk line, and also this rough cut is going to go on the bottom where it will not be seen. And when I say freehand, I mean freehand with the skill saw. I can just set the skill saw on that pencil line, and I'm good enough to follow the pencil line across the board. Okay, now you can barely see it, but I have it in place there, and you can see what it looks like in the open position. I don't have hinges on it yet, but I put it in place, and then both my wife and I went through the opening. My wife wouldn't be photographed, but she, was able to go right through there and didn't really, wasn't even a squeeze, was able to just fit right through there. And so we've determined that the single door will be fine for us and meet our needs. And so I'm going to progress for the next step, which is to take out the accordion door and then I'll be ready to hang the new door on hinges. And there it is. I mean, I'm going to standing in the back here. I think that's an improvement. I think it looks better than that old accordion door. It certainly works better. I got a nice snug fit, and I'm going to come in for some close-ups now. I have two hinges, one right here and one that won't show down at the bottom. And I put a knob on it, of course, and so the door just opens up like this. It goes nicely right up against the track there. I didn't have to do anything, but I did cut a small notch up at the top there to accommodate a track screw. I left in this piece, which was from the old door, and because it made a nice fold up against the door, goes right up against it and closes very nicely. One thing I found out that the camper is not square. Doesn't surprise me. Didn't really have to be square there for the accordion door. So there is just a little bit of push on the bottom. But when I get inside, I'm going to put a latch on the inside, and you just pull the latch shut, and that would be fine. It naturally wants to stay closed. I will probably put a latch and pin right here so that we will definitely ride with it in the closed position. Let's go inside. Very easy. I'm going to scoot right by it here. And now I'm inside, and you can see what it's like, and that it fit very nicely. And I have tested it by sitting on the throne, and plenty of room. And I just think it's an improvement all the way around, and it's certainly a lot less to deal with than that old accordion door, and I think it's going to give more odor protection than a curtain did. So yeah, I cut it out of maple plywood. I don't even know that I'm going to certainly put a polyurethane on it, but trying to match stain is one of the great hassles of woodworking, and I don't think I can match the stain in the camper very well. And I almost think that it matches up naturally with the side over there. I'm just thinking that I'm going to take it off, sand it, and polyurethane it. That is for another day, though. So there it is on my Freedom Elite 21C, my door modification, replacing the accordion door with a fixed plywood door.